Good morning and welcome to Favorite Christian Books Author Chat. I'm Holly Magnuson and I am here with James Rubart. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. Jim, good morning.
Okay. It's never happened before.
Well, that's like my name. They always want to say Magnuson. So anyway,
Yes.
welcome, Jim. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I don't know if anybody will catch on to this, but we tried to do this last week and had a major technology fail for us, but we're back and it's a great day. And we'll get started with the question I started with last week, and that is from the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference. You received a couple of awards. You want to share about those?
Yeah, so I received the Carroll Award for my novel, The Five Times I Met Myself, and that was a huge honor to receive that award. And then I received the Mentor of the Year Award, which almost was more significant because I had so many people that helped me when I was starting out on my journey. And it's kind of a way to give back to them. You know, I can't do for them what they did for me, but I can certainly try to do it for others and encourage them. And I'm a few steps further maybe than a few folks, and to be able to encourage them is one of the biggest things in my life. And to be honored for that was quite an honor.
Yeah. Care to share who was probably the most influential for you in your writing career?
Well, first of all, I would have to, without question, say my wife. I mean, she is the one that talked me off the ledge so many times. She had a lawn chair set up out there. She believed in me, encouraged me, was my editor, and she absolutely was. And you hear of a lot of spouses that aren't necessarily supportive, and my wife was beyond supportive. But other than that, on the outside, I'd have to say early on it was Randinger Manson, it was Tricia Goyer, and it was Mick Silva. Those three were probably the biggest encouragers and influencers on telling me I could do it, I could make it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I know, kind of a little bit of your personality, because I do as a profession computer training, and so teaching someone to take that leap, in which today is not as big a deal as it was when I started this 15 years ago, but there is that joy when you see someone succeed. And so I think you're seeing that as well as working as a mentor with other authors.
Oh, it's a thrill when somebody you talked to 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and they come up to you and you go, "Oh my gosh, I got my first contract," or "You were the one that introduced me to this agent who ended up getting me a contract." That is a rush, because the reality in the writing world is most people give up. It's really hard, especially being a novelist. It's really hard. And so I tell young novelists, my gosh, if you keep working at it, there's fewer and fewer people you have to compete against, because most people let it go by the wayside. And to see somebody that has persevered, studied the craft, studied marketing, and comes out on top, I love seeing that.
Very cool. Yeah. It is a rush when you see someone conquer a fear or succeed. So I love that. I love that, to see that in you. It just makes me appreciate your writing all the more. But we're here to talk about your 8th book, The Long Journey to Jake Palmer. And please forgive me if I say at some point Jake, the football player.
That's okay. That'll work.
So tell us about Jake. How did you come up with this idea? What was your inspiration behind this story?
Well, back to my wife being my greatest inspiration and really partner in this. She's the one that came up with the story. And the story behind it, or how she was inspired to go this direction, was every summer when the boys were young. Our sons are 23 and 21 right now. But when they were young, we used to take them to this lake. And at the end of the lake was this huge wall of cattails and this huge wall of trees. And one day we decided to try to punch through the cattails, actually swim through them and get to the other side and see what was on the other side. And when we did, we found this gorgeous meadow on the other side. And being the type of guy I am, I said, "Oh my gosh, we've entered into a new realm. We've entered into, this magical land." And so we did that for years. We'd take friends there. And as we were brainstorming for my next book, Darcy says, "Well, Jim, my gosh, why don't you write a story on the corridor? What if somebody is searching for this lost, legendary corridor that nobody can find? But if you find it and get through to the meadow, you'll get what you want most in the world. And it's like, okay, there it is. There's the story. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, it was. I so enjoyed that story, and I love the Five Times I Met Myself as well. And so it's kind of which one do I like better? Rooms. I'm sorry, that is still you're going to really have to go someplace to top Rooms for me.
I feel
Um,
the same.
what was that, Jim?
I feel the same. That's still probably because it's my first book. I don't know, but that's still my favorite. And Jake, I have to say, is a close second. But Rooms is still my favorite.
Yeah, Jake was a very. I really liked Jake. And was there an inspiration, and was there a person who kind of became Jake, or is he completely a figment of your imagination?
No, he is. It's interesting because most books you read on writing novels, they'll say, well, every novelist's first novel is autobiographical. And then once they get that out of their system, then they can go and write books about other people. And for me, every book's autobiographical, at least so far.
Okay.
I've written 8 so far, and Ted Decker talks about how his books are simply his personal journals in published form. It's the things he's wrestling with and the things he's going through currently in his life. And I so relate to that because every one of my novels, it reflects what I'm learning and struggling and going through at the time. And in the case of Jake, it was actually a combination of myself and somebody else that was wrestling with this issue of, are we enough? Are we enough for our parents? Are we enough for our spouses? Are we enough for our friends? And the question of, I don't feel like I'm ever enough. There's always that pressure to be more. And so that's really the cool hook is he goes through this corridor to this magical place. But really the theme, the heart of the book is this idea of, boy, I never feel like I can be enough. And that's the issue I wanted to struggle with or wrestle with in myself and for this other person.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned in our emails back and forth, it took me a while to see where you were headed with this, but when it hit me, it was like a 2 before upside of the head because I've struggled with that. I'm never good enough. No matter what I do, it's not good enough. And I didn't
Yeah.
really want to give that away that much of the story in this interview, but you went there first.
I did. My fault.
So yeah, you went there. I was not going to go that far, but no, but reading the story and having it told the way you've told it, it really does drive home that idea. And so I think people, even, if they watch the interview, then go read the book, they're still going to really grab onto that.
Yeah, but forget the part about being enough. Forget that part.
Yeah. Wait, find that on your own. Okay, I have to say, is Camille anybody that you really know?
Yes.
I am so sorry.
I know. It's like I was saying, Holly, I mean, truly, I write my books just, I kind of grab this and I grab this and I grab this. It is all real life. And so this person really, I used to wear a sweatshirt Darcy bought me that says, be careful or you'll end up in my novel. Well, this person was not careful and they did end up in my novel. And it was a way for me to wrestle through, oh, this person is so acerbic and so irritating and so, well, I don't want to give away the character for those who haven't read it, but let's just say, yes, I worked out some of my frustration by putting this person in the novel.
Oh, yeah. We'll just leave it at that then.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed the book. I really did. And yeah, but I just had to ask about Camille.
Well, I'll tell you something else and this won't give away too much either, but there's a character named Leonard in the story who plays an integral part. And Leonard is a real person, and he really is missing his 2 front teeth. And all the things about Leonard are true as well. So it's very fun to take things from real life and put it in. And those who are very close to me, it's like they're reading all these Easter eggs of the whole book going, oh my gosh, I can't believe you put that in there. So that's one of the fun things I do in all my books is I have all these kind of inside jokes that maybe myself and Darcy are the only ones that know it, but a lot of little trivia in there that makes it fun.
Well, and I also love, and you did that in this book too, how you reference back to some of your other stories.
Yes. Yes.
In fact, I think I'm trying to remember which book it was, where I think when I read it, I emailed you and said, "This is from Rooms," and so
You did, and Yeah, so Holly, honestly, that's for readers like you who have read all my books, and I'm on one hand, I'm saying yes, they all happen in the same universe. In another sense, it's just to say thank you to those who have read all my books, and they go, "Oh my gosh, okay," that refers back to that. So that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's been fun to watch that. Yeah, and look for you to what are you going to do in there in this next book? Well, let's talk about you as far as what do you enjoy reading? Because I assume you're a
Wow,
reader.
I am a reader. I am a reader, and I'm one of those readers that has 6 or 7 books going all at the same time. Which some people go, "How can you do that?" For me, that's just, excuse me, the way my mind works. So I'm reading nonfiction. I'm reading nonfiction books. I'm reading novels. I'm reading Reader's Digest. I'm reading spiritual nonfiction books. And so I'm reading everything at the same time, and I just go back and forth. And for some reason, I can keep it all in my head, and I can keep it straight. So I enjoy having that randomness of a bunch of different books. I will tell you one book that I finished lately that I would say probably is my favorite novel of the last 3 years. It just absolutely knocked me out. I loved it. It's called Long Way Gone by Charles Martin. And it comes out, I think it releases, gosh, Holly, maybe end of this month, maybe the beginning of October. I got an ARC. That's how I read it early. And I absolutely love that book. So there's a plug for that book.
Okay, I'm the same way. I'm usually reading at least 2 books or 3. I haven't gone as many as 5 or 6, but I do have a day job too, so and
Right,
an eye
right.
job. You wrote one series, um, the Wellspring series, I believe is the name of it. I remember the individual books. Um, do you plan any more book series?
Yeah, I can see that happening with my novels, but I will tell you, I'll give you a little inside scoop since you asked. Um, I am going to come out with a serialized number of novels, probably releasing as early as a year from now. And what those are going to be is episodic. And by that I mean they're going to release once a month for 10 months, like a TV show. They're going
Okay.
to be 30,000 words in length. And we're going to do print, audio, and ebook all at the same time for people that subscribe to the series. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be writing that series with Susan May Warren. So,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good choice.
She's great. We've been friends, great friends for a long time, and we share real similar interests in genre. Our favorite genre is the same, and so we just decided, hey, let's do this. So her and I and her son David, we're all going to be involved in that process.
Okay, well, that kind of answered another question I had later as far as what was next for you. But yeah, what do you find? What was your greatest challenge with Jake in this story?
Wow, great question, because this book was a huge challenge for me. In fact, I right up to the last minute, I was wondering if this thing was working, and I wrote it really, really fast. This is the fastest I've ever written a novel, and the whole time I was brainstorming with Darcy, and again, not to give too much away, but in the climactic scenes, we were, does this work? How can I make this work? How do I structure this? And so the biggest challenge was seriously figuring out the plot, and the plot did not come together. 10 days out before the manuscript was due, we were still making significant changes to the plot. So it was definitely a novel that was, I don't want to say done on the fly, but there were a lot of changes right up to the last minute.
Yeah, the plot, the twist there. I'd like again, don't want to give away too much. Yeah, I kept trying to figure out what was it good? Was this person
Yeah,
good? Was it not?
yeah,
Who is this guy really?
yeah, yeah, and that's fun. I've asked people, everybody who's read it so far, and again, we can't talk about it in detail, but I've asked everybody, did that work? And everybody's, oh my gosh, it really worked. Did not see that coming. And that's always fun because ultimately you want to surprise your readers. I have 2 goals with my books. I want to wildly entertain you, and I want you to be more free when you finish a book than when you started. And when you start getting feedback from people saying, oh my gosh, Jake did both those things, you go, okay, I did what I set out to do.
Yeah, because it's getting, yeah, it's because I read so much. I mean, and I know I don't read as much as some people, but I've already read, almost 50 books this year. After a while, it's
Wow. Oh,
like,
that's crazy.
well, it didn't help. My mom spent a lot of time in the hospital, and I spent a lot of time in a hospital room, and there was nothing else to do but read. So, but you after a while, when you read so much, you're like, what's coming.
Right.
And so a book like Jake surprised me. There was some twist in there that I didn't see coming and wasn't sure how you were going to, resolve this. And so that was really good. So, thank you as a reader. Thank you for doing that and putting that kind of energy.
Well, I appreciate that. Here's the secret to doing that. I don't know. I don't know what's coming, and I have to work it out in my own mind. So if I surprise myself, I suppose I'll surprise a few readers. So thank you for that.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed about your books, and Jake, same thing. We'll use Rooms because that's an older book. Um, you take us to the edge of reality. In Rooms, the house was constantly changing.
Yeah.
What inspires you, or to think so far outside the box?
It's funny because people say that my stories are so unique and so outside the box and so surprising, and I don't think of them them that way. And I'm not being humble when I say that. It's honestly saying that old Toni Morrison quote where she goes, if there's a book out there that you want to read and it hasn't been written, you have to write it. And so really that's what I'm doing. I'm writing books where I go, oh, I would love to read a book like this. And so that's essentially what I'm doing. So I'm taking all these things that are interesting to me in my life, bits here, bits there, idea from a movie, idea from another book, idea from my own life, and I'm just kind of mixing them all together. The Beatles were asked, how are you so creative? How do you come up with all these amazingly unique songs? And Lennon said, well, we steal from people all the time. We just borrow from this, borrow from this, borrow from this. And that's what I really do too. There's a great book called Steal Like an Artist. And it talks about this idea of just taking these creative ideas and mixing them into and they are going to come out unique because they come through your filters. But really it's playing with ideas that would interest me.
And it's working, Jim. Let me just say it's working. We do have a couple of viewers on, and if you've got a question for Jim, there's a chat box on the right-hand side of our screen that you can type in that question. We can ask. I'll make sure that he sees it. We ask him that. So we kind of already talked about a little bit about what's next with the serial coming up. Do you have any other novels in the works that you can
I
share
do.
about?
I do. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to be working on a novel that's due to my publisher March 1st. So that's coming up. And then another novel that's due on January 1st, 2018. So I've got two more full-length novels in the works. And I will tease you and say that the first novel, which I'm just about to dive into, have you seen the movie Family Man with Tia Leone and Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I'm not a movie person.
Okay, person. Well, he has a chance to see what his life would have been like if he had married Tia Leone instead of going a different direction. So he gets this chance to see what life would have been like. And the pitch for this book I'm working on right now is the family man meets Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So that should be an interesting one.
Yes, it should be. I can't wait. So, okay, we do have a question here. Jim, would you consider reviewing a Christian murder mystery with an allegory of Christ's ministry? That's from a gentleman named Michael Hicks Thompson.
Would I consider reviewing it, like
Yeah,
taking?
I don't know, whether you do much reviewing or if he's looking for you as like for mentoring or.
Yeah, well, let me address that question because I get a lot of people wanting to send me stuff to look at and read and that kind of thing, and I absolutely always try to do that. The problem is I just am so crushed with my own deadlines and trying to make life work that it's rare that I get a chance to actually do it. But I guess what I'd say to Michael is I would love you to send it to me, just with the caveat that the odds are yeah, I probably won't get to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, because you are extremely busy. You've got two novels. It sounds like coming on the horizon. You've got the serial coming on the horizon. So yeah, it's tough. Um, well, one of my favorite questions when I do written interviews was, other than Jesus, who would you like
Oh,
to meet in heaven?
wow. Okay. Well, there's two people. Can I say two people?
Sure.
Um, there's 20 people, but the two people that popped into my mind when you asked that is I am so looking forward to sitting down with C.S. Lewis. If you talk about the one writer, the one, I guess I'll call him a theologian, the one author that has had the most influence on my life, it would be C.S. Lewis. So would love to sit down and talk with him. The other person is Peter. I got to sit down and talk to Peter because there's so many times I look at him and I go, oh my gosh, I can relate to you. Where I've been bold and stepped out, which is good, but I've been bold and stepped out and done stupid things. And here's this guy that was the epitome of denying Jesus, and yet was also the guy that says, man, crucify me upside down because I don't deserve. So the transformation in his life, this radical transformation when he really grasped who Jesus was, I just find him probably the most fascinating guy in the Bible. So we'll say Peter.
Yeah, we're my Sunday school class. We're talking, working through Galatians, and we just talked about the confrontation between Peter and Paul over Peter pulling back from the Gentiles when certain Jews showed up, and Peter is he's one of those guys that he's every man. We can so all of us can relate, and we all pull Peter moments, but
Yeah.
yeah, he would, like you said, and it's kind of funny. That's what I was thinking. Michael, who's watching us, he and I have been exchanging some emails for possibly doing a review of his book, and he compares his books of combining Agatha Christie with C.S. Lewis.
Oh, love that. Love that.
So
See,
as soon as you said C.S. Lewis, I was pretty sure that was who was watching us was Michael, and so
yeah.
yeah, I'm going to hopefully have time in the next month or so to look at his book and hopefully meet with him online here like this. So. But
Yes.
yeah, because Agatha Christie and C.S. Lewis are two of the best.
Oh, exactly. I mean, talk about taking you into taking you away, right? Immersing you in a novel.
Mm-hmm. So Jim, I so appreciate you taking the time and the time again and making this happen. Um, Anything else you want to share with the people who will watch this? Because I know last week I got several emails going, I couldn't find the interview. That's because we had a problem. So
Right.
what would you like to share, your parting thoughts to us readers?
I guess I would love to say to anybody out there is I was in seventh grade. I got the Chronicles of Narnia. I read them, and I decided I'm going to be a writer. That my dream, right, came to fruition. 11 years old, and then in eighth grade, I took journalism class because it's like I'm going to be a writer, and I loved writing. And at the end of eighth grade, the teacher chose who was going to be on the school paper from the journalism class, and I was not chosen. And I absolutely believed uh, that was proof that I can't write. And so I let that lie stay with me for years and years and years and years. The dream was always there, into it, because of that belief that I couldn't write. And then I finally did. And that's another story, but I finally did. And my dream comes true, and I'm writing novels. I'm doing exactly what I was designed to do and destined to do. And so I guess I'd say to anybody out there, I don't know what your dream is, but I know God has a destiny for you. I know that dream he has planted, that desire he has planted inside you is there for a reason. So don't listen to the lies of the enemy. Don't listen to those voices who say you can't do it. Just go for it. The absolute worst thing that can happen is you can try and fail. And in God's economy, success is defined by this, I believe. Did you try? And if you try, you are a success. So go for it. Go for the dream. Step into the destiny God has for you, and you will succeed.
And there he is. The mentor is coming out. It is a natural part of who you are, isn't it, Jim?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of because, again, God designed. He took you to the journey, and like I said, that's just that whole edification thing. So,
Yeah.
with that, I get you go ahead and stay on as I close out the broadcast. But thank you, Jim. How do they contact you if they want to send you words of encouragement or ask you questions about your books?
Yeah, best way is just James at James L. Rubart, RUBART.com. They can also go to my website, jameslrubart.com, and sign up for my newsletter, which is probably the best way to stay in touch with stuff that's going on with me. But email is great too.
Yeah, you respond to email
I do.
multiple times. We've emailed off and on
Yeah.
many years, and I finally something would always come up and we couldn't make a connection on the earlier books, but I'm so glad that we got to talk about Jake and Camille.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have not read the book. You will understand why we're laughing about Camille. So with that, thank you. Check out favechristianbooks.com and for reviews, giveaways from time to time, and God bless.